Good evening. This is Akashvani. I'm Renuka with the World News. The headlines. External Affairs Minister Dr Jaishankar stresses on UN reforms to ensure contemporary geopolitical realities and remain effective in addressing today's global challenges. UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer announces to deploy aircraft carrier to the North Atlantic this year. US Secretary of State Marco Rubio reaffirms Washington's commitment to the transatlantic alliance, seeks more balanced partnership with EU. US Department of Homeland Security shuts down after senators fail to pass 2026 budget. And in ICC T-20 World Cup, England defeats Scotland by 5 wickets in Kolkata and Ireland outplay Oman by 96 runs in Colombo. Match between New Zealand and South Africa underway in Ahmedabad. And now the news in detail. External Affairs Minister Dr Jaishankar today said that the India-Middle East-Europe Economic Corridor IMEC is meant to ensure connectivity, logistics and trade. Speaking at the Munich Security Conference, Dr Jaishankar stressed that reforms of the United Nations are urgently required to ensure it reflects contemporary geopolitical realities and remains effective in addressing today's global challenges. Talking about India's oil procurement, the minister underlined that the world is heading towards greater multipolarity and there will be many more independent or autonomous centers of decision-making.
The world is heading towards greater multipolarity. There will be many more independent or autonomous centers of decision-making. Probably the most interesting for many of us is Europe, because we have seen in some ways a sort of a strategic reawakening of Europe in the last few years.
UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer today said that the UK will deploy its aircraft carrier group led by HMS Prince of Wales to the North Atlantic this year amid security concerns in the northern regions.
I can announce today that the UK will deploy our carrier strike group to the North Atlantic and the High North this year, led by HMS Prince of Wales, operating alongside the US, Canada and other NATO allies, in a powerful show of our commitment to Euro-Atlantic security.
Mr. Starmer also urged NATO's European members to act with unity and urgency, describing Europe as having significant untapped strength. He said that while the United States remains an essential ally, changes in U.S. national security strategy require Europe to take primary responsibility for its own defense. U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio today reaffirmed Washington's commitment to the transatlantic alliance at the Munich Security Conference, saying the United States remains fundamentally tied to Europe through shared history and strategic interests.
We want Europe to be strong. We believe that Europe must survive, because the two great wars of the last century serve for us as history's constant reminder that ultimately our destiny is and will always be intertwined with yours, because we know that the fate of Europe will never be irrelevant to our own.
Mr. Rubio said the Trump administration seeks a more balanced partnership and called for stronger European defense capabilities to deter adversaries and reinforce collective security. French Foreign Minister Jean-Noël Barrot today said several G7 nations have indicated a willingness to advance a ban on maritime services linked to Russian oil exports, expressing cautious optimism that an agreement can be reached. Speaking to reporters after a meeting of G7 foreign ministers in Munich, Barrot said France hopes the measure will be included in the European Union's forthcoming 20th sanctions package against Russia. Russian ambassador to Norway Nikolai Korchnov has alleged that NATO countries are reportedly planning a maritime blockade of Russia in the Baltic and Arctic regions. He accused the alliance of holding military exercises that restrict freedom of navigation and violate international law. He said these moves threaten Russia's national security and may prompt countermeasures. The comments follow reports that UK Defence Secretary John Healey met Baltic and Nordic counterparts to discuss seizing Russia-linked oil tankers. This is Akashvani. You are listening to World News. We bring you the top international news and updates from around the globe. The U.S. Department of Homeland Security has entered a shutdown after senators failed to pass its 2026 budget, affecting agencies including Immigration and Customs Enforcement, the Federal Emergency Management Agency, the Coast Guard, and the Transportation Security Administration. We have a report.
Democrats blocked funding in protest of Operation Metro Surge, an expanded ICE raid program in cities such as Los Angeles, Chicago and Minneapolis, which they argue targets communities opposed to President Donald Trump. TSA agents are expected to continue working without pay while other government departments remain funded after Congress passed their budgets last week. Negotiations between the White House and Senate Democrats are ongoing as leaders search for a resolution to the budget deadlock that threatens national security operations. Elsa Williams for World News.
U.S. President Donald Trump has said that a change in power in Iran would be the best thing that could happen as the U.S. administration weighs whether to take military action against Tehran. Mr. Trump confirmed that he is deploying a second aircraft carrier group to the Mid-East for potential military action against Iran. The four will join the USS Abraham Lincoln and its accompanying guided missile destroyers, which have been in the region for over 2 weeks. The U.S. military launched 10 strikes on over 30 Islamic State targets in Syria between 3rd and 12th of February as part of a broader border operation targeting IS infrastructure and weapons storage. U.S. Central Command said in a statement today that this campaign, Operation Hawkeye Strike, follows an attack by an IS-affiliated Syrian security member that killed 2 U.S. soldiers and wounded 3 Syrian forces in Palmyra. China's Foreign Ministry Commissioner's office in Hong Kong today said it has summoned the heads of the United Kingdom, United States, Australian and European Union missions in the city over what it described as their officials' negative comments on the sentencing of media tycoon Jimmy Lai. Earlier this month, a Hong Kong court sentenced Lai, a prominent critic of Beijing, to 20 years in prison in a landmark foreign collusion case under the city's national security law. Pakistan's economy faces deepening structural challenges as temporary relief from the United Arab Emirates, rolling over $2 billion in loans for 1 month, fails to ease financial stress. The short-term extension highlights Islamabad's dependence on allies like the UAE, Saudi Arabia and China to avoid default. External debt repayments of $23 to $26 billion loom in fiscal year 2025-26. Bangladesh Nationalist Party Chairman Tariq Rahman today said that maintaining law and order will be the top priority of the incoming government. Speaking at his first post-election news conference in Dhaka after his party's landslide victory in the 13th parliamentary elections, he warned that no anarchy will be tolerated. Cabinet Secretary Sheikh Abdur Rashid said newly elected lawmakers are expected to take oath with the new cabinet by Wednesday. In the ICC Men's T20 Cricket World Cup, South Africa defeated New Zealand by 7 wickets in the Group D clash in Ahmedabad. Chasing 176 runs, South Africa successfully achieved the target in 17.1 overs put into bat. New Zealand made 175 for 7 in 20 overs. In Group C at Kolkata, England beat Scotland by 5 wickets this evening. Earlier in Group B at Colombo, Ireland defeated Oman by 96 runs. And now, before we close, here are the highlights of the bulletin. External Affairs Minister Dr Jaishankar stresses on UN reforms to ensure contemporary geopolitical realities and remain effective in addressing today's global challenges. UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer announces to deploy aircraft carrier to the North Atlantic this year. US Secretary of State Marco Rubio reaffirms Washington's commitment to the Transatlantic Alliance, seeks more balanced partnership with EU. U.S. Department of Homeland Security shuts down after senators fail to pass 2026 budget. And in ICC T-20 World Cup, South Africa beat New Zealand by 7 wickets in Ahmedabad. England defeats Scotland by 5 wickets in Kolkata, and Ireland outplay Oman by 96 runs in Colombo. That concludes tonight's World News Bulletin. For more updates, stay tuned to our Akashvani. Good night.